Hello everyone, welcome back to this video series wherein we are looking at the questions from the SAS certification prep guide. So in this video we will see creating enhanced list and summary reports based questions. So it says if style has four unique values and you submit the following program. So it says four unique values in style variable and the following program is submitted. Which output do you get? Assume that all the other variables are numeric. So it says there are four numeric variables apart from style. So it says proc report data SAS user.houses, no windows, column style, square feet, bedrooms, price, and define style as group. So when we use the option group on define, we get one row per unique value in style. So unless there are any variables on the right side of it which are display variables, which means the display is nothing but all the rows present in that data set would be displayed as is. So here it said all the other variables are numeric. So three variables square feet, bedrooms and price are being displayed. So by default, if we do not specify the how a particular variable has to be considered using define statement, they would be considered numeric variables would be considered as analysis variables. So which means by proc default, proc summary would produce a sum of all the values present in that variable. So here, so what did we say? So within style, so we asked it to group. So, and these are numeric variables. So we have not specified any particular attributes for these three variables in the define statement. So what would it assume it is? As they are numeric, it would give us a sum of all values within each unique value of style. A style had four unique values, so we are expecting four rows and one for each of the style and then a sum of all the values in that variables. So let us see which of the options has that four rows. So the first one has four rows, one for each of the style. So it said four unique values. So this seems to be okay. So here all the different values are being presented within each style. So as we have not defined any attributes for these three variables, so it would have actually produced summary, which is by default the sum of all the values present with the style condo. So this is not the case here, so because multiple rows are being displayed for each of the style here, so this is not the case. So these two options, first option seems to be okay, but let us take a look at the other options as well before we conclude. So here it says style 15. So there is only one row being produced, but it was mentioned that there were four rows, four unique values in style, and style was defined as group. So it would produce one row per group. So here we only have one row, so this is not correct here. And again here also we have multiple rows per uh, displayed. So we are expecting only four rows and one for each of the style. So that was only possible in the first option. So let's go with the first one and then see if this is correct or not. It says our response is correct. Let's move on to the next question. So when you define an order variable, what happens? So the detail rows are ordered according to their formatted values. So this is correct. So you can't create summary reports. Yes, this is also correct, because if you want to create summary reports, we will have to use group. We will have to define a variable as a grouping variable using the option group on the define statement. So you can't create summary reports if you are creating using an order variable. And then proc report displays only the first occurrence of each order variable value in a set of rows that have the same value for all order variables. Yes, this is also the case. Say for example, if we had three rows which has the value of condo in the style variable, like in earlier case, if we had specified style as an order variable, if all the rows corresponding to style are present, only the value would be displayed once in the style column if we have specified style as order. So that is what this third option is saying. So let us go with all of these and then select submit and then see if this is correct or not. It says our response was correct. Let's move on to the next question. So which attributes or options are reflected in the proc report output? So this seems to be a listing destination output or the output window based output. So we have a line, solid line written, so with hyphens, and then we have another blank line written. So this is possible only if we had used headline option. And then along with that, we can also use head skip option, which writes a blank line below the header and between the data. So these two options should have been enabled. And then, so the width is also greater for style and then also for square feet. By default, the width for character variables is equal to the length of the variable in the input data, and for numeric variables it is 9 characters. So for character variables it is the length of the numeric length of the character variable, but for default for character variables it is 9 characters. So let us see if we have anything related to width as well in the options. Let's clear the annotations. So it says skip line and format. There are no such options. Skip line format option is not present. It is head skip in fact. So it says center, headline, head skip, and either width is equal to or spacing is equal to or format is equal to. And then it says third option says spacing is equal to only, and the last option says center, format, and headline. So the only option that had both headline and head skip and width is equal to, so one of these should have been used because the width or there is additional space in between the columns here being displayed. So or again here, so if we see the values have a dollar format applied, so any of these should have been present along with headline and head skip. So option T 2 seems to be the correct one. So let us go with that and then submit. It says our response was correct. And let's move on to the next question. So it says to create a summary report that shows the average number of bedrooms and the maximum number of baths. So one is average, which is nothing but mean, and the second one is maximum number of baths for which the statistic is max. And this is for bedrooms variable and this is for baths variable for each style of the house. So which define statement do you use in your proc report? So we need for bedrooms we need it as average, which is nothing but we should have the mean statistic defined on the variable defined statement corresponding to bedrooms variable, and for baths variable as we need maximum we need a statistic called max defined on the defined statement corresponding to baths, because if we do not specify any for numeric variables, if we do not specify the statistic, by default it would take it as sum, but we need other than the default statistic. So we are explicitly looking for mean statistic specified on the bedrooms variable and max on the baths variable. And the other thing is that it says for each style of the house, so which means so for the variable which contains the style of the house should have been grouped, because we are trying to produce a summary for each unique value in style of the house. So style should have group, and then bedrooms should have max, bath should have bedroom should have mean, bath should have max. So let us see which of the options has that. So here the first one says define style center, and there is no group specified here, so this may not be correct. For bedrooms mean is specified, for baths max is specified, this is correct only, but for group is not specified on style here, so this is not correct for that reason. So here on the next thing, so it says the first one says define style, so it has group specified, so this is also correct. So bedrooms main is specified, so which is also seems to be okay. For baths, so max is also specified here. So this seems to be okay, but let's take a look at the other options. So here order is specified. When we specify order, so all the rows present in the data would be displayed in the report. It would not actually summarize the report based on the groups or unique values present in the data set. So here this is not correct for that reason. So on the last option, group is specified, but we do not have the keyword mean specified on bedrooms and max specified on the baths. So option 2 seems to be the correct one. Let's go with that and then see. It says our response was correct. Let's move on to the next question. So which program does contain an error? So we'll have to go through things closely. So the first option says proc report data is equal to SAS user dot houses, no windows, column, style, bedrooms and baths. So three variables are specified, and then for style order is specified. This seems to be okay. So bed bath ratio is being computed, which means it is being newly created. So on the compute block, so this new variable is being created. So here, but on the column statement, that bed bath ratio is not specified. But let's take a look at the other option. So this seems to be questionable because I think that we'll have to specify the newly created column on the column statement as well. So let us see the other options as well. So on the second, we are looking for the program which contains an error. So here style, bedrooms, baths, bed bath ratio, style is defined as order. So here we do not have the computed keyword specified, but we are creating it on the compute block. So let us take a look at the other option, proc report SAS user dot houses, no windows, bed bath ratio. This again here compute is specified, variable is specified on here, and then compute statement is creating that bed bath ratio variable. So here also bed bath ratio is specified, computed is specified, and then bed bath ratio is being created without the keyword dot sum here. So here let's go through all the options one more time and then before we conclude. So here if we see, the newly created variable is not specified on the uh, computed statement, so this could be wrong for that reason. And here it is newly being created but not specified. The computed option is missing here on the define statement, so this could not be correct for that reason. So let us move to the third and fourth options. So here if we see, bed bath ratio is specified, computed is specified, but here when using it in a arithmetic operation, so we should specify the statistic that has to be used, so that is not specified here. So option 3 seems to be the correct one. Let's go with that and then see. So it says our response was correct. Let's move on to the next question. So it says which output does this proc report step produce if style is a character variable. So if we proc report data is equal to SAS user dot houses, no windows, style, square feet, bedrooms, and price. So they said style is a character variable. So by default, if we do not specify any display characteristic for a character variable, it would be considered as display variable, which means all the rows would be displayed. All the rows present in the input data set would be displayed as is. So we are looking for an option which contains that. So a list report ordered by the values of the first variable in the column statement. A summary report, so it does not produce a summary report, so this is not correct for that reason. Then a list report that displays a row for each observation in the input data set and which calculates the sum statistic for numeric variables. No, it doesn't produce a summary sum statistic for uh, yes, this seems to be the correct. So if we these are numeric variables, so by default all the rows would be presented, but within that row, so numeric value would be, so the sum of the value, because it will be only one value, the sum statistic would be equivalent to the value present on that row on that particular variable. So this seems to be the correct option, but let's check if that is the case. It says our response was correct. So let's move on to the next question. So which of the following program produces this output? So we have style variable displayed on the top, and then it seems to be the values present in style are being present here, and the number of entries or number of records in each of them, and then the average price. So the values present in style variable are being presented as headers. So this is possible when we use across option for a variable on the define statement. So the first thing we are looking for is that a define statement which contains across on style variable, and then average price, it seems to be, maybe it could be like the main statistic on the price variable. So let us take a look at the options. So the first option says it displays style, condo, range split, two-story, price. No, so we do not have that combined header displayed as style anywhere with this syntax. So this is not correct. So there should be only two variables. One is style and the second one is price. And so this has that, but again, so this is defined as group, so it would have grouped only the rows by displaying one row for each style as rows when we use group on the define statement for a character variable. So this is not correct for that reason. So again, there has to be only two variables, style and price, and within style, so it has to be used as across option, so that the values present in that variable would become header. So for example, that condo and other things that were present will become the values in the header. So, and again for price, so the average price was being displayed with the header of average price. So, and then it has the uh, mean statistic. So this seems to be the correct option. So here in the next option, if we see, so again across is used, price, main is used, but again here multiple headers are being specified by using that optional labels. So but what happens is when you say across, so you do not need to define the heading for your newly created columns in the report with by explicitly mentioning them. So third option seems to be the closest one, so let's go with that and then see. So it says our response was correct. Let's move on to the next question. So if you submit the program, where does your proc report output appear? So it says in the proc report window and HTML or SAS listing output, both of these, neither of these. So when you are running a proc report in PC SAS, what is, we have something called as a proc report window. So by default, if we do not use no windows option, the proc report appears in that reporting window. But here no windows is used, so that option is rolled out. So the proc report window is not correct. So and again it again depends on what are the destinations we have set active in our SAS session. So based on that, so the as HTML and no SAS listing output could be possible. So the option 2 seems to be the correct one. Let's say go with that and then see. It says our response is correct. So it says in non-windowing mode, your proc report output appears as HTML and or as SAS listing output depending on your option settings. So let's go with the next question. It says how can you create the output with the headings that break as shown below. So here it says style of house, average bedrooms, maximum baths. So again, for character variables, the overall width is, this is kind of tricky. So even I had to go through the answer before I make this video. So this seems to be the heading split this way by default. So we'll more try to understand the answer explanation for this. So it says, if you go through this, by default columns for character variable are same as the variable's length, and columns for numeric variables have a width of 9. So it says the heading split by this way by default, because if we go back to the question again, here it seems to be STYLE. So this is 5 characters, 6, 7, 8. So and then the length of the variable could be equivalent to this 9 characters, so it has split that file of house onto the next line. So here for numeric variables the width is 9, so AVERAGE. So how many characters do we have? So around 7, and then followed by space 8. So as this bedrooms could not be print on the same line, it has taken that bedrooms onto the next line. So here also similarly, maximum has 7 characters, and then a space has 8th character. So for numeric variable it uses a width of 9. So as bars could not be fit on that, it has split that bars onto the next line. So let's go the last option and then move on to the next question. So it says, suppose you want to create a report using both character and numeric variables if you don't use any define statements in your proc report. So if you want to create a report which using both character and numeric variables, if you don't use any define statements in your proc report, so if there is at least one character variable in the data, so what would, if we are not using any define statement, it would assume it as display. So whenever we have that default option of display on any of the variables specified, so it would print all the rows present in your input data, which means this is a list report, not a summary report. If we are grouping something, so that would be considered a summary report, but if we are not grouping anything, so that would be considered a list report would be produced. So it says, the first option says your proc report will not execute successfully. No, that is not the case. The proc report will execute successfully. And the second option says you can produce only list report. This seems to be the correct one. You can order rows by specifying options in the proc report statement, so that is not possible. If you want to order the rows based on the values of a particular variable, we will be able to only do that by specifying the order keyword on specific variables using define statements. And then the last one says you can produce only summary reports. When there is at least one variable which is has the attribute of display, so can only produce list reports, not the summary reports. So this is not correct for that reason, because we have at least both character and numeric variables in that data set. So let's go with that second option and then see. It says our response was correct. Thank you for watching and keep learning.